Lunch is over. Time to get back to work. What's up guys, I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Thank you for coming back for yet another week. This is a pretty exciting weekend for me, and I know it is for most of you lawn kids out there too, because today represents the day that I apply my first application of the year, which in this case is starter fertilizer. We're going to talk all about it today. But before we go getting too excited here talking about starter fertilizer, I got a couple things I got to do back here, which includes removing these two arborvitae trees right here, and really just getting this whole backyard situated, because as you can see it's really overgrown and patchy from all the dog peas you guys remember from the last video. So yeah, you can see we got a little bit to do back here. We got to get some leaves out of some corners and stuff that have just blown in over the months that I haven't been able to take care of. So yeah, let's get to work. Alright, so quick story about these trees. So we transplanted them back in May of 2015, so they've been here for about a good 2 years now. This one died right away because it didn't get enough water. We didn't succeed watering this one, so I don't expect the root ball to be any bigger. But this one lasted for about a good year until it died, so I expect the roots to be a little bit more challenging on this one compared to this one. There's only one way to find out. Hey Snapchat, check this out. Check out what we're doing today. Taking out some dead trees in my backyard. Arborvitae, they have to go. Alright, just got the first tree out, as you can see there. Actually, I got them both out. Now I just got to take them out and dump them, and then I got to clean up the back here, and then we could get started. Backyard's all cleaned up. I'm feeling a lot better about that. But now let's get back on topic about today's video, which is all about starter fert. Let's talk all about it. So I know right off the bat I'm going to be getting a few questions here. Mainly the first one being, when can I put my first application of starter fertilizer down? Or really, when can I put my first application of anything down? And actually I answered this in my last video, if you guys remember. The best time to fertilize is when the forsythia bushes, which if you don't know, they're those yellow bushes that bloom in the first of spring, are in full bloom. That'll tell you that the ground roots are unfrozen because of the fact that the bush itself is blooming and that you're good to go and fertilize. Another question I know you guys are going to ask is, well, Jake, I want to follow your directions here on putting your first app of starter fert down, but what about when I go to the store and I can't find anything specifically labeled as starter fertilizer? Whenever you're looking for starter fertilizer, it doesn't specifically have to be labeled as starter fertilizer. In fact, you can see the fertilizer I'm using here. It's actually an all-purpose fertilizer, and the analysis is a 12-12-12. You see, guys, when it comes to fertilizer, it doesn't matter what type of fertilizer it is, as long as you have the three main elements, the N, the P, and the K. This comes to another question I know you guys are going to ask, and that is, what do the numbers mean? You guys know when it comes to the bag I'm using, the analysis on it is a 12-12-12. And what those numbers stand for is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. NPK. When it comes to starter fertilizer, the two most important to have is nitrogen and phosphorus. Let me explain why. Here's your lawn, and here's your root system. Nitrogen works on top growth, phosphorus works on root growth. That's the simplest way I could put it. Really, with starter fertilizer, the purpose is to give us a nice jump start. So if you're doing like a new seeded lawn, or if your lawn is relatively thin, starter fertilizer is the way to go. I know you guys are finally at the moment that we were waiting for to actually put down the fertilizer. But first off, we got to do a little bit of math because there's a certain rate we need to get it down. There's a little bit of math we're going to have to do here. So the first thing we need to figure out is the analysis, which you already know. Our fertilizer is 12-12-12, and it's a 40-pound bag. So that's really what we need to know. Like I told you again earlier, guys, the two most important are going to be nitrogen and phosphorus. There's actually a couple recommended rates we need to put them both down. When it comes to nitrogen, it's ideal to either put that down at a ½ pound, or if you can, get it up to 3/4 pound. Because as you guys hear a lot, the most recommended rate for nitrogen is 3/4 pound or less, which in this case, a ½ pound is perfect. When it comes to phosphorus, the recommended dosage is 1/3 pound or 1/2 pound. In this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick ½ pound just to make my math easier. You guys will find out in a minute. The next thing we got to do is we got to multiply the analysis by the bag poundage. Nitrogen, 12 times 40. Phosphorus is the same, 12 times 40. And we're using potassium, 12 times 4. So we get about 5 pounds. So we get about 5 pounds of nitrogen, 5 pounds of phosphorus, and 5 pounds of potassium. This is what we got to figure out. So as you guys remember from the earlier math I was talking about, right? The recommended amount of nitrogen and phosphorus we're going to go with is going to be ½ pound of both. In order to get there, we're going to have to do a little bit of dividing here. If we know that 12 times 40 equals 5 pounds times 20, that would be 2.5 times 10, that would be 1 pound, because I rounded, times 5, that'll give me ½ pound. So if we go back to our analysis, which again is going to be 12, 12, 12, and we multiply that by the final calculation, 5 pounds, we come out with 6%, 0.6. And that tells me that I need 6% N, P, and K to get me a ½ pound of nitrogen, ½ pound of phosphorus, and a ½ pound of potassium. And we're just putting the potassium in there because really all the numbers are the same, and we just do that to keep things moving. So you can see that I'm going to need 6 pounds. So you're going to see right here that I'm going to need 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet to get ½ pound N, P, and K. So another thing we need to consider is how big is the area we're working on. So let's go ahead and do that. And you'll see that I came out with about 2,566. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round that to 2,600 square feet, right? To make my math easy, because we know that the rate is 6 pounds per 1,000, we're going to go ahead and round this up to 3,000 square feet. And to be honest, it's also good to do that because not every unit pumps out 100% of product. What that tells me is I'm going to need 18 pounds to cover 3,000 square feet. And because we have a 40-pound bag, and we need to put down 18 pounds of product to cover 3,000 square feet, I'm going to use about half the bag. And so I know this last question you guys are going to ask is going to be about more products. Can I put more products on? The first one being Milorganite. You can actually put more Milorganite down if you want, because what that's going to do is it's going to boost your end rate and it's just going to increase the speed of the growth overall. Good thing to do with Milorganite is if you can get it, you put that down with your starter fertilizer. So what you do is you put your starter fertilizer down at a ½ pound, and then after you've completed your starter app, what you do is you put your Milorganite app down at a ½ pound after that. So what you get out of the two is you get a full pound of nitrogen when you combine your two fertilizers. Now, I don't recommend you combine them both in the hopper. They are two separate applications, but that is something you can do. In addition to Milorganite, I know a lot of you guys are asking about pre-emergence. Is a pre-emergent necessary, even though you've been talking about all the weeds that have been popping up already? Now, you guys got to remember this. Putting a pre-emergent down actually wouldn't be considered too late because of the fact that it's been really warm lately. We've been getting a lot warmer temperatures. This year's been very unusual. So a pre-emergent app can actually control, believe it or not, can probably control certain things besides the weeds that have popped up. If we come over here, you guys remember this area. I talked about it in the last video. It's the very thin part of my front yard. But as you can see, the reason it's so thin is because throughout the year it's taken over with clover, so it's blocking out the dirt, just putting nothing but shade here, and it chokes out all the grass. And because of that, you could see when we rake it out in the winter, this is what we're left with. Putting a pre-emergent down right here would actually be necessary because you can see we got a little bit popping up in here, right? But it's not fully popping up yet, so there's still some little seedlings in there that have not germinated yet. So putting a pre-emergent down right now would actually slow down the growth of these guys right here. I know a lot of you guys are in full doubt right now, but just remember this. A pre-emergent is a good idea. There's certain things that it'll get besides the things that are already coming up. Remember that. So a pre-emergent, get it down as soon as you can. I'd recommend doing it this weekend or next. Alright, so now we are at the moment that we've all been waiting for, and that is to actually put the fertilizer down for the first time of the year. I know a lot of you guys are really excited right now. But first, you got to do a little bit of hand raking. We got to get that last bit of thatch out of there because, number one, that can keep the lawn thin all year round, and number two, coming in contact with the ground and slowly absorbing as time goes on. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. I hope you learned something from today's video, and the next step is going to be a full application of Milorganite, and that's going to happen in about 5 weeks. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you learned something today, be sure to subscribe. And with that, I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. I'll see you guys later.